Everybody, welcome to the Heatwave podcast, and thank you for the thank you guys for tuning in. And this will be episode 2, starting. I think we're a little bit behind on our schedule, but nonetheless, we're going to get you the information you need. To start off, my name is Relent, aka Posey. We'll go around the table and introduce each person again, so we have a better understanding of who's talking to who.
I go by Halo headline, HCS headline. I'm planning a rebrand type thing. But I'm Ed.
Hey everybody, Dose Moves here.
All right. How you guys doing this week? You have a good week? Joe enjoy some Halo, watching some Halo.
It was a good week for me. It was basically Halo every day. I was loving it. I couldn't really put my phone down for much. I had like 4 or 5 different streams going at once. It was a great time. I ate too much as well, but oh well, that was just part of it. But yeah, I had a good week. I had a good week. What about you?
Yeah, I had a fantastic week. Just feeding intel from trying to help everybody get intel that we need to get out there for the community. You know, had some I ate as well. And yeah, just watched Halo and played Halo quite a bit. So, what you Dice?
Yeah, it was good. I kind of feel like there was almost so we got done recording the last episode, and then all the stuff started happening with the bracket changes and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, we were talking to each other. We're like, dang, we're gonna have a lot to talk about. But it was just like every day it was kind of something new. So I almost feel like we have like too much to go over in like this episode. But I guess it's never a bad thing.
No,
But it's
I
definitely a
think
good week for like Halo news for sure.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot that's kind of went on. So, kind
Yeah.
of interesting. Any particular area you guys want to start at and kind of go over first? I think I think a good part to
So
start would be go over maybe Sunday's tournament where the amateur teams kind of competed for a pro series spot or to
yeah,
compete for.
so that's kind of what I was thinking at first was like since we're gonna start with the open, because we are gonna start with last week, right, with the results. um I think that'd be a good time to bring up like all the bracket drama that kind of happened. And then do we want to cover um like at the end switch like the Anaheim news, or do we want to save that for like next episode when maybe we'd have some more like info on it? It's kind of
Um,
up in the air. I mean, I think we should at least mention it, but it's kind of they kind of didn't really release too much information on it.
yeah, I definitely say kind of mention it and then go for it. Go for it
Gotcha.
from there.
Sounds good. Okay, so yeah, so let's start with like you were mentioning, let's start with like last week's open tournament going into the pros. But to preface that, so the past qualifiers have been 512 team cap, double elim, and then this tournament comes out and is announced as it's still 512 teams, but it's what is it, single elimination. And so that
Yeah.
kind of got everybody like worked up. Obviously, like we're used to double elimination, especially in an online format where you have, it's sad to say, but you do have the factors of like connection issues, or and even without that, it's like you kind of want teams to have like another chance. Like it just seems like we get a better result, a more accurate result of like who the best 8 teams are when we have a double elimination. So there was kind of some people upset about that. Then Tashi comes out and tweets that they are going to do double elimination, and moving forward, every tournament will be double elimination. It was an oversight by the team, so everybody's like, we're all cheering at this point. That's amazing news. Then I don't think it was even announced. I think teams just it was it the next? No, it was that as soon as that happened, people realized the way that they made that happen was instead of they basically cut the cap of teams in half in order to accommodate doing the double elimination tournament because they wouldn't have had enough time to run a 512 team tournament double elimination. Um, so I guess to start, like, what are your guys' thoughts on the change and like how that all transpired?
So yeah, go ahead, Ed.
Personally, I think just a bit more communication would have been nice. Uh, we were all obviously asking for it to be double limb, and when they said, "Okay, we've changed it," it was kind of like everyone praised them, and it was as if they might have known that there was backlash coming, and that's why they might not have communicated it. But
Hmm.
in the end, it kind of made it all worse for me. Anyway, I was pretty upset. I felt bad for obviously the amateur teams because especially lower down the ladder, a lot of teams kind of get thrown together with like you see a bunch of free agents on the timeline and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And all the teams that didn't really or were like missing one or looking for one, I think a lot of them didn't really actually get time to register because saw how quick the spots were flying off. I think it was
Hmm.
like I saw people tweeting like 10 spots left and stuff like that, and yeah, it was just a bit chaotic. It would have been nice if there was a bit more communication on for me anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the communication of it was completely horrible. I think, and then the lack of even trying to potentially fix it, which I feel like they could have fixed it, in my opinion. They just chose not to, or maybe it was too late. I'm not sure. But yeah, I just think it was. I think it was kind of a slap in the face, but at the same time, I think it kind of, in a way, I think it's kind of beneficial to the Halo community too because it prevents a lot of people from getting shaded. I think Ed and I were talking about this kind of beforehand. In the Halo community, a lot of these amateur teams, like you'll have one scrim and then they'll just completely, and if it doesn't go well, like they're ignoring your DMs or text or whatever, and then they're, you know, on to the next team without a hint of trying to get better or anything in that sense. So I think it just showed that a lot of people are not responsible to check in. Like, um, I know a lot of teams checked in a few days earlier when it was still the 512 or whatever the team cap was, and so which again, I still, like I said, I still think the communication could have been better. But nonetheless, I think they bounced back this week. I think they maxed out the teams this week again with 512. I don't think they kind of closed. I think that kind of felt up last night. I think it was filled last night, from my understanding.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right with that. So my thinking was, I think it was, yeah, it was unfortunate. I think everybody, like the communication, I think that kind of seems to still be an issue. We talked about last week with, and we'll come up with it, but like with Anaheim, and like they're kind of just like radio silent, and then they come out with an announcement, and then even the announcement doesn't really paint the full picture. And I don't know if that's because they kind of want to come out with information as it comes to them, like so maybe they don't have all the information. But with this one, it kind of seemed like that it was almost like a half-baked idea, like they just jumped all of a sudden, like, okay, yeah, we'll do it double elimination. And then, like, I just wonder if they knew the ramifications right when they decided that, or if then they realized like, oh, we can't do it. But yeah, I guess, like, it's good that hopefully this won't happen again. It is unfortunate for the teams that like couldn't get signed up, and I think in a way it basically benefited all the teams that were able to sign up, because now they get two chances in a way. And then obviously it was pretty rough on the people that didn't sign up in time, and especially without announcing that, like, hey, you're gonna only have, like, I think at that point they probably had like thought they had like a whole day to, like, a whole 24 hours to register, if I'm thinking about the timeline correctly. And then it pretty much cut that like in half, or it actually took away all that time. All of a sudden it was just like, okay, now no teams are going to get to register, or there's only like 20 spots left or whatever. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
they
I
could have
definitely
done.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could have done. I think they could have been more open about it or been more honest about it. Not, I think Tachi tweeted out like, "Oh, we're gonna resolve to fix this," and then nothing happened. And it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, I feel like once they did it, I feel like their mind was made, and there was no turning back for that particular for that one. And I think all the backlash that they got from it is ultimately what made them go back to the 512 teams. So, um, moving forward,
And
I think with the Anaheim announcement, do you guys kind of want to touch base on that? Kind of explain what's going on with that situation?
I think you know, for the sake of like this like flowing better, I think we should bring it up at the end, and then I wonder too. I think we should spend a decent amount of time talking about, but like not too much time, because obviously like, you know, we don't have too much to announce because they haven't come out with like all the news, and a part of me still thinks that they might change a couple things. So I think for right, I think we should move into the open series results, going into pro. If you guys want to just jump into that.
Yeah, go for it.
Ed, do you have the teams that were able to qualify for the pro pulled up?
So 1 second.
Yeah, I think we'll focus on, if this is cool with you guys, we'll go over NA Open, then NA Pro, and then we'll touch on like the EU and then the other regions and some various topics.
Yeah, so the 8 teams who qualified for pro were BBG, OXG, Falling, obviously Timor, Complexity, G1, EXO, and Unsigned Talent. There were a few there that I was surprised. I'd been following Unsigned Talent a tiny bit, but it surprised me like how far they actually got. I definitely didn't expect them to make it, but
Yeah,
it's
that
interesting
was
to see some of the teams go from almost, well, some of them were kind of, I feel like, underestimated in a way. I feel like OXG, they're a pretty strong team, well, as we saw in the Pro Series, which we'll talk about a bit later. But I think it was just interesting to see that kind of any AM team is kind of fighting against the partner teams now, which is good to see. I like the competition, in my opinion.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll go for it. Relent.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. Yeah, I agree. I think online a lot of these AM teams can compete with, you know, the pro teams. I think, you know, online takes a big factor into a lot of it. I think that there's definitely some separation between, you know, get your top AM teams that are like right there on the fence of breaking into the pro series, or like making top 8 and being considered pro. And then, you know, you got your mid tier AM teams that are constantly getting better. They're just not there yet. And then so yeah, I feel like, I don't know, for me, like like 3 or 4 of the AM teams that made it, I kind of expected to make it, just from what I've been watching and what I've gathered from around the community. You know, Complexity, Falling, those, you know, those top teams like that made it. I had no doubt in my mind that they wasn't going to make it unless they matched each other earlier on in the like in the tournament, and like wind up knocking each other out or something in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was obviously some big surprises. I think for me it was probably XO making it to the pro bracket. I think with Unsigned Talent, it wasn't as big of a surprise, you know, because I think they had that, what was it? They had a big upset over either G2 or X set from in Rally. So it was cool to see them. Did you were there any like standout performances for you guys as far as either teams or like players?
I didn't, to be honest, I didn't really get a chance to, like, I watched it, but I didn't pay like attention to it at the same sense.
Yeah.
I think there's does he play for? His gamer tag is like Mines. I can't remember
Oh,
what team
that's yeah.
BBG.
Yeah,
Yeah, BBG.
it is BBG. Yeah.
He's like, he kind of stood out to me, and kind of like he's like one of the first ones I think about that's kind of like, me personally, I've never heard of before. And then, but his overall, like, I just feel like he's really, really talented at the game so far, and like is a big part of that team for them.
Yeah. I think for me, for some of the roster changes, I think all the roster changes, I shouldn't say all of them because, you know, we saw some teams struggling, but Complexity's roster change looked like it was a good move. I think I saw 1 or 2 games where Vetra just like went off. He looked really good. And then I obviously they didn't make it, but I thought Enable played pretty well. I think that team got jumped up a level or two as far as like their overall gameplay. I still don't know, talking about status quo, I still kind of think, or I think we might be seeing their like kind of their ceiling. Like I kind of see them as like, every tournament they can probably break into the top 16, but really like I don't really see them after these like results and like kind of, I mean, it was a different team in Rally, but I don't know if I picked them to. I definitely don't pick them in like the top 8, but I don't even know if I see them competing like to really do much past like maybe breaking into the top 16. Just because there's so many good teams. But there was veteran. I thought well, I guess that's more of the pro bracket, but we'll get to Space Station's new pickup as well. Who else played really well?
I thought Envoy on G1 was pretty good. I mean, I haven't been keeping up with G1 too much, but it was a pleasant surprise. I like to see. I feel like their team's kind of
I think that's
coming
a
together more and more
different
now.
team, right? I don't think Enfor is on G1, is he?
Oh,
I think
yeah, that's my fault.
G1.
He's on War, isn't he? He was on War. Well,
Yeah. Well, that's news
yeah,
too that they just they're no longer with that org. Yeah, that team's really good as well. But you liked his overall gameplay from the Open?
yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of these teams were good matches. I feel like
Mm,
they're. I mean, any AM team now is pretty. They're kind of getting their stuff together now. They're a bit more composed, bit more, and they're just playing as a team now. I feel like towards the start of obviously Rally and other events, they were almost 4 singles on a team, but now they're kind of coming together a bit more and more, in my
yeah.
opinion. Anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I think
sure.
I definitely think. Well, I think it's beneficial too because a lot of these, like I'd say honestly, like a lot of the for me outside of Cloud9 and maybe the top 3 teams are like set aside. Like they're kind of on a different level, but I think 4 through possibly 10, I think they're all kind of like kind of can match each other. And if they were to like, and I think a lot of these teams are noticing that, especially some of the pro teams like FaZe, Space Station, E United, and they're scrimming against some of these AM teams that are not in the pro series because I feel like they know like they could potentially make it to pro series and then they would be having to play them and then you know I feel like if you're not scrimming them and then you match them in a pro series like then there's a big potential to be upsetted and have a and get shocked by an amateur team that you're not used to playing against. So I feel like that's why a lot of these pro teams are scrimming some of the AM teams that haven't made the pro series yet, like in the 4 through 10 spot.
Yeah. I think with these teams, what the team that comes to mind, what is their new? They just got an org, but that the Gears of War pros.
Oh yeah, I know what you're
It's,
talking about.
Yeah, what is it like Shopify
Story?
Rebellion?
Yeah,
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
So they played
Story.
really well. They ended up getting knocked out by from what I remember it was Status Quo. They looked really good. Like teams like that, I think what they're gonna have to do is like it's gonna take one or two of those players. And like with teams like that, I didn't see who was like a standout player or whatever. But I think to make it, they're one or two of their better players are gonna get picked up by like one of the like more established orgs, and they're gonna develop them that way.
yeah,
Yeah, because I think the teams for me that I like paid attention to the most, just probably most because like that was who was on when I was like able to watch was G1, Status Quo, and Complexity. And I felt like teams like those teams like played really well. They looked like unstoppable until but there was like a big difference between them and like the upper echelon of teams.
hmm
Um, and for G1, another thing too we were talking about with commonly coming onto the team, and I think I mentioned I was like, I don't know what like level he's going to be at as far as, you know, how serious he's been taking. I think he's the best player on that team. Um, from just watching their scrims and watching like this tournament, he might be like their best player just fresh off the bench. He looked like that looked like a really great pickup for them. But for with them too, I just don't know where they're. You know, I think they're a little they're definitely in a better place than status quo. Like that series, I think they beat them 3-1 to qualify. That wasn't an especially close series. But yeah, we'll see how it all turns out. Do you guys have any closing remarks for the open bracket side?
No. Go
I
ahead,
was
Ed.
gonna say quickly, speaking on status quo, I was watching Flamesword stream a few days ago, and he was saying that Enable is only temporary, I believe. I don't think he's actually a permanent player on the roster.
Oh, okay. I wanted to bring that up too because he's kind of in the
He's-
same space as like Formal, right? Like where they're playing for a different org, but they're just kind of like letting them play.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's from my understanding, Enabled's like, unless it changed or something. But as of last night, he's like playing for them today.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's playing through maybe this tournament, and then I'm not sure what his future is after that, because obviously he's tied to 100 Thieves.
Yeah. For me though, to close this out, like I feel like I don't know. Status Quo kind of doesn't have my attention at the moment, just because I feel like they've gotten beat by some teams that they shouldn't have gotten beaten by.
Yeah.
With their talent and their knowledge of Halo. Um, but moving forward, I just think, like I said, I feel like a lot of these AM teams, like if they can find the right rhythm, find the chemistry to match with their team, I think can make a push and get into Pro Series. And I think once they get into the Pro Series aspect of it, I feel like they can start getting scrims against pro teams and potentially increase
Mhm.
their skill and close that skill gap that you were talking about.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so moving on to the pro bracket, I guess called the Pro Series. So so I'll just like list the top 8 coming out of that. So Cloud9 first, FaZe Clan, E United, Sentinels, then we have Built by Gamers and Oxygen in the 5th to 6th spots, and Pioneers and Space Station in 7th to 8th spots. What are your guys' overall thoughts about how the Pro Series like went down?
Big
I
big
was,
upsets.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was very surprised of like Optic getting knocked out and having to play through the AM tournament today, basically.
Yeah.
Even though they're playing in this open series today, I don't consider them an amateur team. I just feel like I'm not sure what's going on with that team at the moment. Like they're missing something or something's not clicking for them, and
So I kind
I
of
just
had
feel like
I thought I had this thought on Optic, and it kind of happened early on, but I didn't really like bring it up or anything, and I saw somebody else like mention it, and I was like, okay, so it's not just like me thinking that. So I've been thinking about, and like you guys, everyone will know exactly where I'm going with this, but I was thinking like, okay, where does like Formal go once Royal 2 is back? And I'm like, is he really gonna get picked? Because he kind of mentioned like he's had offers from other orgs, which like that's should be obvious, like it's Formal, but I was like, it doesn't seem like he's in any hurry to like leave Optic. I was like, if this team, like as soon as they kind of underperformed at the last tournament, I was kind of thinking, I'm like, I think a couple months of this and he's getting subbed into that lineup. And it kind of seems like obviously this is one online tournament, but yeah, like you're saying, it's kind of just showing in the way that they're playing as well that there's something up. Um, and I don't know, like not to dig too deep, but I wonder too if like that might be in the back of like some of their heads, like that they know that they have this easy kind of not necessarily a remedy because like who knows if like him even fitting in for someone would fix it, but I kind of like I don't know if I was on that team I would be really like that would kind of get in my head like dang, if I'm like not on my game for a couple weeks, we already have a player under contract, you know, like one of the biggest legends still playing in the game. What do you guys think about
yeah.
that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a definitely an interesting thing. Like, I hadn't really thought about it until you just said something. I feel like it's potential. I just don't know who did they get rid of, because I mean, obviously, I don't feel like they sub formal for Lucid or
Lucid or
Trippy.
Trippy. That's yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and then so
It's it's like you have, with Pistola and APG, it's like you have two like incredibly like historied players, like two of the greatest players ever. Especially like their career longevity is just like insane. So it's always weird when you have such a stacked lineup to be like, who's this player, sub in for? But it's just like the way that the way that the situation is right now, it's just like it's almost like, to me it's almost like inevitable at this point. And I'm not saying it'll happen like anytime soon, but I'm just saying like if that team gets in like some kind of slump, it might even be one of them just being like stepping down.
yeah,
So and I'm
absolutely.
not even gonna speculate on like, oh, it should be like this player, but like you said, there's no way. I think we can all agree that Lucid might be the best player in the game right now. I'm not saying he is, but he could be.
Yeah,
It's not Lucid.
definitely.
Yeah, sorry, go for it, Ed.
I was just gonna say, just Formal's play style. I don't know how I could see it fitting in because I kind of see obviously Lucid and Trippy as the main slayers. They just go in and they do their thing, and I kind of see APG and Pistola as more of the sort of objective and like the scrappy work, and they go in and they just try and get the job done. They don't really care about kills. They go for like obviously APG is really good in the assists, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just feel like Formal's play style's a bit different. I feel like it's maybe a bit similar to a Lucid, to a Trippy. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
no, that's a good point.
Formal brings a lot of work. He brings a lot of things to the table. He's a pro in two different esports, which is so like uncommon kind of nowadays anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I would like to see him play for a partnered team. Definitely. I think even if
Yeah.
it was just for one event, maybe after Anaheim, say Optic do end up dropping out, maybe even if they got top 8, I still feel like say they finished 8th or something, that's still not their caliber considering what they were doing right at the start of the season. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
maybe after Anaheim there could be a change, maybe even if it's just for one event, just to test it out. If it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
go well, they switch it back. Maybe I don't know, but that's what's good about having him under contract. He can almost sub in whenever he wants, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like, which before Anaheim, like I feel like he's either gonna disclose what he's doing or what his intentions are, because like I mean, Royal Two's jail time thing suspension stops on the 28th, so that allows him to compete for Anaheim. The rest of the Pro Series and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely think having him, like you guys said, like on the Optic, like basically on the Optic roster in a sense, like um to have that backup is solid. But I also agree with you, Ed. Like he would be like a main slayer. He's gonna put in a lot of damage. Um, he's gonna hold the W key and go forward. So putting him with a Lucid and Trippy could potentially not work, but at the same time, if they leave a APG or Pistola on there, it could work. It could open up lanes for either one of them to kind of fit in and be that dirty, do the dirty plays, still do the objective, run the flags, and just be a nuisance on the map and completely, distract the other team.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
So
he's too good of a player to not at least try it. If things do go wrong, then it's
yeah.
formal. You're not gonna deny him a spot. Like I don't know.
Well, and, like you have to know, like if you're like um Trippy or Lucid, I mean, I'm sure all these like up and coming players like dreamed about like being able to play with someone like Formal. So that's got to be in their head too. I mean, they're playing with like Pistola and APG, so it's like it's not like they're playing with just some, you know, just average or normal players. But at the same time, you're like it's got to be in the back of your head, like, oh my gosh, like would we be better with Formal? Like especially because I mean, I think we were even talking like placing fifth for them at LAN was like you know, that team. I think that team's got to be in like top 3, or they're not. Maybe even like if they're not competing for first place, they're not happy. But this is not placing in top 8. Like no way. Even online, like there's no like not excuse. There's no excuse for like a org like that, at least.
Especially when they're playing in Frisco and like their pings like 9, 10, so they don't really have the connection issue that a lot of the other orgs and players do have online. And just like I don't remember, I was listening to something or watching a stream or something this past week or something, and they were talking about the Optic roster team and just how like they were dominating online, and then for them to you go into Raleigh thinking that, top 3 is like a given for them, like in any and not, it doesn't matter where they finish in that sense, like, and then for them to finish where they finished was like two brackets lower than what they had been finishing is like was a big shock for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Okay,
Just
so
moving on to the just quickly on the amateur side of it. What are your opinions on the amateurs making it into the top 8 and actually kind of sticking with it? They weren't putting up bad performances against the bigger teams, in my opinion.
yeah. So like, so do you mean? Because I mean, all the teams that made it though are at least like bigger orgs at this point.
Yeah,
So
I understand that. I think
yeah. So
they'll be the ones to
who
get
do you
picked up.
mean more by that? Like you mean more like built by gamers, probably.
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
just because. Yeah, I feel like their roster was a bit more thrown together. I know Oxygen have been together for a bit longer.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah,
No,
what are
I
your thoughts
think
on that?
no, I mean like any of these teams like that that came through, like I think that's awesome. And even for Oxygen, who like we're kind of unsure about like still like where they really fit in, to get a finish like this is like incredible. But yeah, built by gamers, like they got to be on like no pun intended, but they got to be on like cloud 9 right now, like with that kind of performance. It's really cool to see them like come up. um yeah, and like I think you were mentioning too, like Mines playing for them. I guess you thought he had like a really good performance.
Yeah.
Do you know what teams or I guess I can, let me pull it up, like what teams they actually beat. So they beat looks like G1 2-1, then they beat Pioneers 2-1, and they did fall to Sentinels 2-0, but nothing wrong with that. But yeah, especially that Pioneers bit win is a good one. G1, it's impressive, but like I mean, I guess they did win 2-1, so maybe that series was like a little bit closer, but no, it's incredible. Like these teams really shook up the top 8 finishes. I know I wasn't expecting like this this to be how the top 8 played out. I thought too, I was really impressed with Space Station. In my opinion, like maybe it was because like I think all of us realized like Formal kind of had a foot out the door the entire time he was playing for Space Station. But I like, this is my like the most excited I've been for Space Station since like the beginning of Halo. I think this I'm really glad they went with, like it sucks that they had to poach, you know, somebody from another team that was like kind of up and coming in unsigned talent, but and I didn't know enough about that team to know which players they should have gone with, like who was like quote unquote their like best player or one of the better players on that team. But I thought they look good, and I kind of only expect them to go up from here as well.
Who did they pick up? I think I missed that part.
They picked up Flazen.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then I kind of want to know for unsigned talent, because I mean all 4 of those players, like they were obviously good enough to be like top 16 and stuff, so they were playing, they had to get like pretty much a last minute replacement, and they played with Hotshot Ghost. And I
Yeah.
don't know if that was like just because like I don't know if he was like a temporary like stand-in, or what their story is. So I'm kind of like wondering where I guess
Where
today
they're
will, or actually wouldn't even be today. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering where like what their roster will look like.
Yeah, that definitely yeah, because I don't think the hot shot dude is gonna stick around from what I've heard around the community. Like he's not that, as far as like competing at that level. I don't think he's
Yeah.
that good to
Well, yeah,
kinda
I
keep up
mean, they
with
might have
them.
had some. I was actually surprised that I don't think that like Space Station would like bend the rules or anything like that, but I was surprised that they were actually allowed to pick up a player on another team that had qualified for this pro series. You know, that was kind of weird. Like at that like late of a point in the tournament or whatever, like right before the tournament. So I wouldn't be surprised if the unsigned talent was like restricted from picking up players from like other teams that had competed in the previous one, or if they just like had a good relationship with this guy, they knew he was quality, but give them some more time to pick up somebody.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, kinda like, which I think we all checked out that, the SSG video. They kinda went over that a little bit, like, when Formal left, like, they thought that like, they wound up losing their points potentially because they didn't stick with their original team that they had coming into the game, so I feel like with that, like, I feel like that's kinda opened the door, like, there was a fine line that nobody knew about until something like that happened, and now everybody knows about it. Like, I think a lot of people are gonna take advantage of that type of situation.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're definitely gonna like educate themselves on like the rules too, and especially like that's such a weird scenario, but for stuff like that, like if you're the coach and you don't know that, like that's on you. You can't
Yeah,
expect the
yeah.
players to know all the rules, but like there's no way as the coach you should be like, oh, we didn't know that. And I'm not faulting Element at all. Like that's such a weird scenario, and like like the way they explained it too, like I wouldn't have expected that, but it's like definitely that should be like a notice like to the other teams.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any other comments for this for the top 8, or how this bracket played out overall?
Mm, me personally, I don't. I think we kinda covered everything, kinda kinda touched base on everything. I feel like I think it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out from here until if everything stays according to how it is now. So for me, I think that's kind of a for me, it's kind of a good ending point on.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
I kind of thought that I thought Cloud9 Phase and E United, like they're kind of just they kind of seemed like they were on. It was like them and then everybody else as far as like levels go. I think those three teams kind of it could have went kind of any other way. I know Cloud9 just seemed like unbeatable, but I mean I think all three of those teams could be considered like in one tier at least for this tournament, and then it was like everybody else.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I definitely agree.
okay, so if you guys are all good with moving on, we could talk about the EU Pro Series. And I think Ed, you might have you might have the most knowledge on this, so if you want to take it from here.
Yeah, I obviously because time zones, it was a pretty good time for me. Basically, Ascend are just next level in terms of EU. They were just on top, even against like the top EU teams like Navi and Quadrant. They just, I mean, they just didn't look like they were gonna stop. They lost. They lost early. They lost early to Oh no, never mind, never mind. They didn't. I was thinking of the ANZ. But they were just on top throughout the whole tournament. They, in my opinion, if when the partner teams expand in February, I think they should be like the number one, maybe number two to look at, other than maybe KCP. Um,
Hmm.
their roster just looks like the full package, in my opinion. I think if Fnatic were to go down the route of buying out like a EU roster, I think Ascend is the number one to look at.
The way to go,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And then even Quadrant finished fourth. They didn't actually finish top three. I thought the top three were going to be Ascend, Navi, and Quadrant in that order, but they managed to finish fourth, which was a shame. I mean, I don't think they underperformed too much, but they didn't have the tournament I thought they were going to have. But yeah, Navi, I believe the Open Series week 2 have already finished for the EU. And yeah, Navi are just they're not what I thought they were gonna be. especially when they got announced as a partner team. I thought they were going to be up there. I thought they were going to be number one, but obviously this Ascend roster are just too dominant right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of high hopes. Like I thought Jimbo was like one of the best EU players in H5. So moving forward, I thought he was gonna like. I thought he was gonna be like really good. Like not saying he's not really good, but like I just thought his team, like you kind of said, like I thought they were gonna be. It was gonna be kind of a battle for first place, like back and forth between them and Ascend. But it doesn't seem like at the moment anybody can like kind of like how you were talking about with Cloud9 Phase and United. Like I feel like Ascend's like on kind of on their level when it comes to EU play.
Yeah, I was, to be honest, so talking about, so yeah, like Ascend, yeah, we all picked them like last week when we talked about like in our mind they're the hands down the best EU team. I kind of had a different interpretation of Navi when they got picked up. I thought it was not like a bad move, and obviously, you know, they're still the second best team in EU, but I was I kind of would have liked to see something different, you know, like Jimbo's, you know, been incredible, especially like for the EU scene, like the top one player for like years, but it's also been like, you know, it's been a good while that he's been on top. So I was kind of expecting like, um, you know, some younger guys to come in and kind of take over. So actually for me, it was more of a surprise that they started doing this well, or that they are doing this well. I was kind of picking them to be like a little bit more lackluster, and I kind of put more emphasis on how well they're performing based on like the land they were at. Like I thought they did really good in rally. Um, it kind of seems like this Ascend team is like really good. Shout out to Snipe Drone for I hadn't heard about these other guys, so I don't know, finding them or linking up with these guys because they look really really good. I'm excited to see if they get some more practice. You know, if they can place even like higher at like champs or something like that. And then for Quadrant, I actually expected more from them. I always thought SLG was like, and like a great player, but I almost thought he was like dang, what could this player do if he was like playing over here or whatever. I kind of thought he was like limited by his opportunities, and he still might be. You know, I don't know like his team too much, but I kind of expect like a little bit more out of them.
Yeah, definitely. I think the way forward for Ascend maybe would try and get some scrims against some NA teams. Obviously, connection issues make
Yeah,
that a bit more difficult, which is annoying. And I feel like that's probably the one thing holding them back. If they were to start scrimming NA teams, I feel like they could probably go further than some of the partner teams currently, especially
yeah,
some of the lower down ones.
I think if Ascend, like you said, like your speculations, like if they can get to become like one of the other partner teams come February, I think something they should really look into doing potentially is like sending that team over to NA so they can get that practice so there's not so much of a connection issue, but just so they can get that practice. Because I mean, I think, you know, and I don't mean to keep going back to Raleigh, but just like this is kind of like where I have the most knowledge of that team. Like I just feel like that's where they surprised a lot of people, and you know they took game like normally, you know, NA just kind of wipes over EU in these tournaments on land, and just because I think it's because of lack of practice. But I feel like if they can start sending teams over, and I know with COVID and everything, it's kind of makes it more challenging. But I feel like if they can send some of these teams over to America and like have them trim some of these top AEM teams, you know, lower pro teams, or even higher, you know, top tier pro teams, like I feel like that would be very beneficial to them moving forward. And even if it's only for like a week or so, like, you know, that's still like a week longer of practice that than they normally have gotten.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think something like that would only benefit them. You know, if they were able to pull something like that
Uh,
off.
Especially a team like a Sin, like, you know, where they're already, like I said, they come to America and took games off of some of the top AEM/pro teams, you know, in place pretty well at this turn at at the past events. So
Did so they said so you said in February they're accepting more partnership teams?
Yeah, I saw a tweet that Tashi released. It was saying about partnering more teams during like the February to April time, I think is what he was saying. I'm not sure how many, but
Yeah,
that
that was kind
they
of
were definitely looking to
yeah,
expand.
that was kind of my next like thought was like how many teams would this be, and then further down the road like how many teams like
um
in the future do you
yeah,
guys maybe think that they could open this up to?
I think the door, like in my opinion, I think the door is kind of wide open. Like I mean,
Yeah.
it's just because from my understanding, this is supposed to be the game for the next 10 years. That's their thought process on it. So for me, for it to stay relevant and to keep growing as a game, they're gonna have to keep content, keep some of these micro transactions coming in.
Yeah.
Um, I definitely think some of the prices of the microtransactions are a bit pricey, but nonetheless, I think you start throwing in different orgs. Like, there's a fan base for each org. There's a fan base
Yeah.
for KCP, Complexity, some stuff like that, and like 100 Thieves. Like, I think that's a big one that's gonna probably get put in, from
Yeah.
what I've
Yeah.
heard. Um,
Yeah, I think if if they have any interest in joining, like they'll be able to
yeah,
join for sure.
and then you got some of these up and coming teams, like like you guys were talking about, Fallen Esports. BY was it BYG or something? Built by Gamers or
BBG, yeah.
BBGs, yeah.
Hmm.
So I mean, stuff like that. Like there's so much they could do, and I feel like
Yeah.
that's going to be vital to their growth of this game.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't know, I don't think there should even be like I don't mind them doing. I think it's like a good idea to probably do how they're doing it, like rather than just let 10 teams join in February. Like they keep every so often or whatever they let a couple more teams join.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
definitely.
I don't really know if there should be like a limit at all. What do you think, Ed?
I think the only issue I have is how like the pool play system will work in
Yeah,
terms of that sense. I think that's the only issue holding us back. But I'd like to see maybe during the February to April time, like 4 to 6 new teams, maybe. I'd love for any U team to be in there because obviously you got to represent. But yeah, I think KCP are number one on the list for me. They Pioneers need to be straight in there. Um,
yeah,
and then from there, obviously, there's if you look at the top eight from last week, then I think you've almost got two there with BBG and Oxygen. But yeah, I think there should be a they need to rethink the system if they're gonna start letting more people in. I'm not sure what Adam Apicella and all of them are thinking about that, but
yeah.
I'm sure there's a way. There'll be a way to do it. He's smart. He knows his stuff. There'll definitely be a way around it.
Yeah, I think for me, if I was gonna guess on who would get in, I think Oxygen is gonna get in because they just partnered with like um was it like Kraft, I think, or something like that. They just
Yeah,
got a huge
for
huge
their
round
Call
of
of Duty
funding.
team. Yeah,
Hmm. So I could see them getting it because they have obviously like a lot of it is like Halo wants people with like that big financial backing. That way they're gonna be able to invest a lot into the their team and help it grow. But yeah, it'll definitely be cool to see where it goes from here. Okay, do you guys have any?
definitely.
Sorry, do you have anything else on that?
Oh no, I was just agreeing with you. Do you want to move on to the ANZ and
Yeah, so I
just
have
wrap up the last of the Pro Series?
yeah, pretty much. So I have for the next topic, it's like briefly, like however much we want to get into this. You guys might know more about it than I do, but I have the ANZ and Mexico Pro Series, and then just kind of some miscellaneous topics.
Yeah, in terms of the Mexico and the Latin America side, I didn't watch too much of it. I thought that just looking at it, I thought Timber were gonna finish top three maybe.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I mean PK was just different. Like
yeah.
they went in the finals and you could tell almost within the first game that they were just gonna wipe the floor with them. But
Hmm.
yeah, it was a good series in general. an interesting tournament for me. What
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah, I honestly just caught the grand finals, and I didn't even get to catch all of it. But yeah, I thought the same thing. It seemed like Pittsburgh Knights were on a different level. I think they ended. I think it was just a 3-0 for
Yeah, straight
the grand
3-0.
finals. Yeah, just a 3-0. Um, but yeah, I think the only thing I have for that team is just I really want to see them like play at a LAN to see where they're at. Um, I can see them like upsetting some like I don't know. I don't even want to guess on where they're at because it's kind of like unfair to them. But I would like to just see how they stack up against like some of the NA teams and some of the EU teams as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I would say I kind of agree with y'all. Like, and being completely honest, like that's probably like the only Halo content I haven't kept up with, so I don't know much about it. So I'll just kind of let you guys handle that one.
Yeah, for most of these, like unless we one of us wants to do like a deep dive, I just want to more mention them just to give them like kind of some shout out because it is like it is a big deal. It's just like harder for us to like. There's like so many storylines to follow in NA, and then on top of that, to try to follow like what teams like besides the top two are like doing really well, and for a lot of the the teams that finish like top eight, for like the Mexico, it's like we're probably never gonna get to see those teams like
Yeah,
play at LAN. So like I just kind of wanted more to give them a shout out, but anything else for that region before we move on to ANZ?
I think I don't want to obviously put them at like if I'm just comparing them to like NA teams, I'd probably say they could go toe to toe with some of the AM teams, like some of the
Yeah.
top AM teams. It'd be nice to see maybe 343 could organize like a boot camp type thing where they invite like teams from different
Yeah.
regions, put them all together. That would be good. I think that would be a way to actually start developing some more storylines in like the more unknown regions like Mexico. But I think other than that, I don't really know too much about that one. I know more about the ANZ one than the Latin America one.
yeah. I
Yeah,
definitely agree. I definitely think we have our homework cut out for us to try to find out some more information on that. So
definitely.
Yeah.
potentially, about the only player from Mexico that I know of is I think his gamer tag is like tapping buttons or
Tapping
something.
buttons. Yeah, he played for
And
EG for a bit. Yeah, in
yeah,
H5. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool to
and
see him still competing. I remember Danny Knight as well, but I'm assuming he's still on like a top 8 team. I didn't see him in like the finals, and that was the only series I was able
Yeah.
to
I
catch.
mean, I've just got the top. Was he finished third? He was in
Oh,
with Team
okay, yeah. So
Cruelty.
he's still up there. But he was
Yeah,
another
but other
player
than
in
that, I don't know
H5
too much.
that people were like, how good is this guy?
yeah,
Like where would he fit into the NA scene if he was over here?
yep, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Go for it.
I would say I think he definitely yeah, I think kind of touch on what you said. I think he definitely. I think a lot of the H5 kids that played and were good, especially like Danny Knight and stuff like that. I think they kind of a lot of them kind of match well in this game because it's a fast paced game. So I think it like and they can kind of pick up where they left off at.
Yeah, we have there is a Latin American land, right? Planned
Uh,
on the season or
I think
no?
so. Yeah, I think they're trying to do one LAN for each region.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what I
I
thought
feel
as
like they're
well.
trying to do something like that. Yeah.
That'll be cool to follow, so we can do some like content for that as well.
Yeah, it'd be pretty sweet.
Um, okay, so moving on to ANZ. So it looked like the grand finals were Chiefs versus Divine Mind. It was I think it was I didn't find it, but I think it was a 3-0 for the Chiefs.
Hmm.
Yeah, just throughout the tournament, kind of from
Just
start to finish, it was clear to see that the Chiefs are just playing a different level to everyone
yeah,
else.
yeah,
Um, just from what we were talking about earlier, how you had the top three in NA as kind of like S tier. I kind of
yeah,
put Chiefs on their own in S tier, to be honest. Barcode was just frying the whole time. He didn't really stop, to be honest. Um, yeah, the Chiefs. I heard in an interview afterwards, they said that the way they play like certain game modes like CTF, they said they play it differently to NA, but it was the like easiest way to win for ANZ or something like that.
Mhm.
Because they said about when they went to Raleigh, they were just kind of outmatched in a sense. So I think they're trying to play more like an NA style, which has
Yeah.
definitely helped them throughout the tournament.
Mhm.
I mean, they didn't really stop. They looked like the most organized. They were getting assists everywhere they could. It was great, but I thought Divine Mind also didn't have a bad tournament. I think Chiefs got knocked down to losers bracket by Divine Minds, I'm pretty sure. Um, I'm pretty sure they lost to them. But yeah, they bounced back and especially on their losers bracket run, they just didn't look like they were going to stop, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I saw a little bit of the series and then I saw some of the highlights. Yeah, and it kind of looked like they were doing it pretty effortlessly, the Chiefs. Almost like they
Yeah,
were kind of
it was
playing
like
like just a
fluid.
matchmaking game, you know.
Yeah, I mean they don't. But I mean, from my understanding, they don't. There's not like a big turnout for those events or like their online events, is it? Like,
No, so I looked it up and if I'm remembering right off the top of my head, it was like low 30s. So it was like
yeah,
31 teams or something like that signed up. Which is
yeah,
it's funny too because it's like, you know, such a big region, but it's kind of like that in almost all the esports. Like they don't have a huge,
yeah.
you know, they
Yeah,
don't have a
certain
huge
games have
following.
like
Yeah.
different followings, but definitely Halo has always been like. I think Jimbo tweeted out that there was like 100 teams that signed up for the EU
Yeah.
side of it, and then
Mhm.
like you said, 30 for the Aussie one or whatever.
Yeah, and I might be confusing that one with the Mexico one too. Maybe that one's like 30. But I want to say like I mean if the EU one is like 100, I doubt the Mexico one was more or the or the ANZ one was more. So both those regions like I think it's safe to assume less than 100, which is like I think we like that's a small turnout, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
Unfortunate, especially considering it's like still like really early in the game's life cycle. It's
Yeah.
unfortunate to see that they weren't pulling too many people, but
Well, it's
maybe that could change over time.
yeah, and for the ANZ region, it's crazy too because they had such like there is like some history of like Halo over there, as far as like they had like a good scene for Halo 3, not maybe
Yeah.
numbers wise, but as far as like, passion and like setting up these like lands, like they had like a good little scene down there. So, hopefully they can build that back up. And I think at least Halo's going in the right direction with giving, even though they're not necessarily seeing like a turnout, I think it's still good to like show support to those regions because like man, it would start to be like have like a passion for Halo, and then there's nothing you could do. And I know there's teams like in like Southeast Asia and players all around that are kind of feeling that, but um,
yeah,
as long as they can support like as many of those regions as possible, I think that's a good move.
yeah. Just looking, I think Basic kind of tweeted out about an hour ago for the Mexican or the Latin side of it. Or yeah, I think it's Mexico. I'm not sure, but there's like 56 teams signed up for
Okay.
the Open Series today. So
Yeah. Just a quick question: do you think the reasoning behind that is because there's not enough like support in terms of like lands and stuff like that? Like it's difficult to get to a land from where they are. Do you think that's the main issue?
I think I think that's a big issue for sure. And I think just the like I'm not I don't want to like sound like a jackass or anything because I really don't know, but I just feel like maybe they're just not there's not enough like maybe there's like where it's not a very uh economic environment for them like where they're the money's low and stuff like I feel like a lot of people just don't have access to internet let alone like an Xbox or PC or whatever whatever
Yeah,
somebody's
or
wanting to
getting
play
like
on.
you have internet, but who knows if it's like it's hard to get like good internet in the States.
Yeah,
I mean, not like not relative to like the rest of the world, but like there's people that struggle here that like to get like a decent internet to where they'd be able to play. So like who knows with all that, but and I think
yeah,
too sometimes with like distribution, like it could get weird. Like I think at some spots it's almost like easier to well, I guess now with with this game you can play on PC, but it almost seems like in some regions it's like harder to get like an Xbox than it would be to get like build your own like gaming PC.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who knows? There's probably a lot of like different variables that go into that.
Sure.
Um.
So just to sort of not close it straight away, but bring it to a close. Fnatic still have
Yes.
not released their official roster. And it's been what, 2 months since multiplayer was released ish.
Yeah.
2ish months.
So I think the way we should attack this one is so let's say you're a Fnatic and like let's give it like a month. You're a Fnatic and you're like, you know, the CEO is like, hey, okay, we need a team in the next month. Like, what's your guys' move?
From what I've heard, you know, with some of my sources, they're looking for a young, talented team. Like they're not looking to sign. Again, this is just what I've heard. Like, and I, you know, so I'm not sure how credited it is, but they're looking for a team that's like an up and coming team. Like they're not looking particularly to sign like an auction, you know, not an auction, but like an Optic or Cloud9 tier caliber team. But you know, if it's my move, honestly, I'm looking at, you know, that's the way they want to go. To kind of follow up with your question, I feel like for me, I'd be looking at some of these like falling esports or some of these even like lower AM teams that are kind of on the verge of like breaking into the pro team, or like, you know, they have the potential, they just don't have the support to, like, maybe they can step in and get one of these AM teams and give them a decent salary so
Yeah.
they can devote more time to playing and practicing instead of having to work like a full or part-time job, and then, you know, just completely exhausting their brain and body to playing these things.
What do you think, Ed?
Well, it depends what route they're trying to go down. If they're trying to sign like an NA team, then yeah, I think like a middle to low AM team is probably the best way to go about it. I think go for a team that is like that have been together for a while, so they've got good chemistry and they can bounce off each other. Um, when I was watching the EU tournament, I thought if they were trying to go down the EU side, um, the team, the lads who finished third, they beat Quadrant. It's Cristola, Septic, and Radios. Radios, I'm not really sure how you pronounce it, but they're currently like unsigned. I know Morg is really good. I think he's been around for a decent amount of time. Um, that's just what I wrote, so
Yeah.
that'd be good. But I think if you're trying to spend big money, then I don't know. You got to buy out like a good team like this from a well-known org, like maybe the Ascend roster. I know it's probably Ascend do not want to let go of that roster, but
Yeah.
if they have the right, I mean, it is Fnatic. Fnatic, they've got a lot of money. Maybe they're looking at Oxygen, someone like that, because I know they've been together for a while. They've got good chemistry, but somewhere like that. It depends what route they're trying to go down.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So I was thinking, honestly, before they got kind of picked apart a little bit, I'm like, why would you not go with like unsigned talent? You know, this team's showing with zero resources that they can break into the top 16. You sign those 4 players, like Posey was saying, you give them an opportunity to just build, and then, you know, it doesn't, like, I'm not saying that team can't make it into the top 8, but then you start changing out pieces if you need to, you know, and like when you're signing like a team like that, you don't need to you're not you're not having the highest salaries in the game. You're also not buying out another team. You've already got a coach, you know, so maybe if he's saying something different, I'm sure that I think is it Strobe is their coach?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so I'm sure he has like way better insider information, so he can say like, hey, this, you know, this team wouldn't work because blah blah blah, like they're already having issues and whatnot. But obviously that team's kind of a little bit off the table for right now. If you want to like team build, maybe you take a piece or two. But for me now, I would be looking at like that team War that just got dropped or
Yeah.
whatever. That would be my first like start asking around about them, or at least like, you know, picking players that are like good, because the way that Vetra played, like so Vetra comes out in Rally and wins the FFA, which like again that's FFA, but then he looked like such a like main slayer in on this complexity roster, and I'm like, dude, this guy can do it. I'm like, why? Like, if you're Fnatic, why did you just let that guy join complexity? Like, sign that dude, you know? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
start building it. You can build a team like around somebody, you know, like ask him like, hey, do you have like, would you vouch for anybody, you know? And I'm not just saying go out by his word, because you don't really want to give all the power to like the players on the roster, but you can at least take his notice, like see what Strobe thinks of like some of his recommendations. Like, I think that's the way to go. You get like a young team, you know, because Vetra's gonna know these guys like in the scene that are like not getting noticed, you know. So I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. I think if they really like, they're actually really serious about this, they need to start like acting, because all these teams are just getting like swallowed up, you know, and all the good players, people are dropping people and adding these like new young guns. Like, I think those are the people you want on this team.
I feel like for me, it's kind of like I feel like I don't know. It's kind of weird to say, but I feel like as an org, like I feel like they're going about it kind of like in an egotistical way, like they're better than everybody else, like
Yeah.
or like whatever. I don't know. It's weird, but in the video from the owner, I guess he's the owner of Team War. He did state that the team got an offer that they couldn't refuse or couldn't pass up.
Okay, so are
So
we assuming it's probably Fnatic?
I mean,
Yeah.
I'd say that'd
Probably
be
safe
a
bet.
Yeah.
it's safe assumption. I
That's
don't.
cool.
Mhm.
I honestly, I saw the video. I didn't get to watch it, so I didn't know if they just dropped the team or if they actually got an offer. But that's cool. See, like that's cool on both parties, because it's like the smaller org gets like a nice buyout, and then I'm assuming they got a buyout, and then you know, Fnatic gets a team that's like proven, you know, what they can do. Like they know what
Yeah,
their expectations are, you know. So hopefully that'll be the move. But if not, I mean, that means just another big org's coming into the space, which is cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be unfortunate if, like, say there's a scenario where all of the big teams of like all the good teams that are already together have committed to like long contracts, and Fnatic don't see like
Yeah.
that as a possibility, and they end up kind of just throwing together a four.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that would be really unfortunate. So I think
Yeah.
to get the best results, they need to start acting probably within the next month. By the end of the month, they should have like at least an idea of who they're trying to get, what they're trying to get.
Yeah, well, especially with if you're looking at NA, you have the, what is it? Is it a minor? Is that what Anaheim's considered? You have that tournament coming up.
It's a regional.
Okay, you have the
Regional event.
regional,
Yeah,
and you don't want to miss like 2 lands. Like, there's
Yeah,
only, you know, a few like during the year, so I would assume you
yeah,
want a team at least before then.
yes, and
yeah,
yeah. So, touching base on the cheating thing, like we were talking about earlier, some new information that just came out. King J kind of put out a long tweet, basically stating that he's never suspect, and apparently the player that they're speculating that's cheating is Mines. Um, the
Oh,
one,
okay. So can you start it? So is it another pro player that suspects that Mind is cheating?
yeah, Druk.
Drunk,
Okay,
Druk.
Druk.
yeah,
So Druk of Pioneers, right?
What it
yeah,
boils
yeah.
down to is like there was a tournament last night, an online tournament yesterday.
Was it,
Um,
sorry, was it the open head one, or was it a different one?
yeah, it was a different one, like
Okay,
for like
it was an NFT tournament, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
Sub NFT is called the
uh,
Sub
I
NFT
want to say it
tournament.
was like Mushroom or something. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
like
Mushroom
10K,
Head,
10K. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
or
Mushroom, Magical Mushroom
yeah, sorry, I
Clubhouse.
keep mixing those two up. Okay, so Magical Mushroom NFT like tournament.
Yeah,
hmm
So Drug comes out and kind of accuses Minds of cheating, or like maybe he states
yeah,
it different.
yeah,
Like, and he went to, like you guys were saying before the show, he went to like theater, right, and was like
yeah,
yeah. He
kind
goes
of
in theory.
showing.
It's like a 1 minute clip, and he slows it down and everything, and he says that he released like another video. There's proof that no one like called him out where he was, because it was wall hacks that they were claiming.
Yeah.
Um,
So is it like,
then
I haven't seen the video, is like the crosshair tracking him supposedly through a wall?
it's
Or he just
it's almost
he
as
just
if
has an awareness that that
Yeah,
Druck's going to be there, that Druck's saying like wouldn't happen
yeah,
unless
it's
you're
like almost a
hacking.
pre-fire. Yeah, he like pre-fires the corner almost. Like
Okay.
he shoots part of the wall before
Huh.
he starts shooting Druck, is what it looks like anyway. And then he starts hitting Druck.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know how to feel about it, to be honest, because
Yeah, well, so I've like we talked about it in another episode, but or I think I've talked to you guys about it offline, but I follow a lot of like CS:GO, and it's kind of
Mhm.
like what I'll say is like the only thing to avoid is to be like, in which we're not doing that, but like these things like kind of create like a witch hunt where
Yeah.
like, and there's no way for like Minds to like prove that he's not doing that, so I think the way we're bringing it up, like the main point of this right now is the fact that like this could be happening in the game. Like I think that's the most important to take. Like, because I mean, if this guy's cheating, like that's horrible. But also, at least like the stakes on this tournament are like fairly low. But I think the more important fact that we're bringing up is like, and especially since we can't prove if like he's cheating or not, but we have like nothing really to stop it right now, and I don't know if 343 has anything in place to. They don't have
Mm.
anything in place to like really prevent it, but I don't know if like they have anything in mind for looking back on things.
Unfortunate, because I feel like this whole situation could have almost been avoided with an anti-cheat. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if they've actually or anyone's released a statement about um an anti-cheat, or like whenever it's gonna come in the future, if hopefully it does.
yeah.
Um,
I would assume
I
that they're
haven't
at least
seen
working
anything.
on one because of how every computer game that comes out now has issues, with cheaters.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
like, at least there should at least be one in development. I mean, that could be completely wrong, but I mean, whether or not that comes out any time soon is like, remain to be seen.
Yeah, I think that was just one of the problems that was always gonna happen with having it on PC.
What?
It was same with.
So, oh, sorry. Go
Carry on,
ahead.
carry on. No, 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 it's fine, it's fine. Don't worry.
Um, so you guys both saw the clips.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're on Twitter at the moment.
Okay, so what do you guys think about them? And not saying not saying that if they're like weird that means that he did anything, because like obviously we have connection issues in this game, we have theater issues in this game,
Yeah,
so it's
not
like,
wrong.
and to be honest, like dude, I like there's a lot, like I don't know if Minds came out and said anything, but there's a lot of like audio cues. There's like sometimes you just get lucky too, right? Like he could have just like gotten lucky. So there's no way of saying, but just you looking at it, not at all like being like, okay, Minds is a cheater. Like, what do you guys think about him?
For me personally, I feel like it's kind of hard to speculate somebody's cheating at that kind of level of play, because for one, like a lot of these people know the game, and like they know where people are spawning. And like one of the videos, he was like talking about like he had just spawned and like nobody had shot at him or anything. But you don't, like, he doesn't know the other team's comms, like what they're calling out. Like,
Yeah.
he could have been like, "Hey, it's a potential for a weird spawn. Like, let's look, wherever he was on the map." So for me personally, like I would need to know the whole situation and be a part of the whole situation to
Mm-hmm.
kind of fully dissect it and kind of give my opinion on it. It's kind of hard to tell just from, like you said, and you kind of specified on it a lot, was like the issues with the theater thing. Is like, a
Yeah.
lot of people, like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
could probably go back and watch some of my videos in theater and be like, yo, this dude's sus. Like, he's cheating in some way, he's walls or whatever. But you know at the same time, like I said, for me, like at that level of play, like they're in the finals, they're paying, like, granted, like they're not playing for a lot of money, but at the same time, like they're playing for a decent amount of money. So, it's like obviously they're very talented, and they're gonna know the somewhat have a general idea of the spawns on the map and like how things are kind of operating. So,
Yeah.
I, you know, he and Mines did kind of reach out and say something, and like it looks like a Twitch chat is like what Druck's kind of putting out. And then the speculation is apparently he's playing on Xbox, since it's been announced that until at least till KC they're going to be on Xbox. So
Oh, mine's came out and said he's playing on Xbox.
Yeah, that's what King J kind of said in his Twitter long message.
Yeah, so they're
Um,
like, and that's implying like he wouldn't be able to access those kinds of hacks on an
Correct.
Xbox. Okay.
Yeah, I think obviously there's a lot of variables that go into it that could debunk all of it. I'm not saying he's cheating or anything, but if someone was to just see this clip, the actual shots that go through, like that hit the wall before he goes round it, are kind of in the general direction of where he is. That's the only thing I note, but obviously I'd never want to assume anything because a
Yeah.
lot of this stuff could just be down to technical issues. Like you
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah, and that's
But
And-
yeah, it was just
sorry, go
interesting
ahead.
that it's come out today.
And for me, like that's why I was bringing it up, like not necessarily to try to feed into it or anything. It's just like just general topics, like general drama, like
No,
kinda,
yeah.
and something kind of entertaining because everybody loves drama. But
Well, it
for
is
me,
like, sorry, it is an issue in the game. Like
yeah,
the fact that he very well could have been cheating, and there's nothing to like stop it.
yeah, and for me, it's like I don't know, like I struggle like with this. Like I feel like a lot of pro players, drugs, considered a pro player, whatnot. Like I feel like when they lose, like I feel like they're such poor losers when they lose, and like they try to find any excuse. And not like I said, not saying this is him doing that in a sense either, but it's just like I don't know, like again, like the in theater you can't really I can't feel like that's I don't feel like at the moment in the state of theater like that's valid video proof to put out because like
Yeah.
the you know shots could be delayed and then like there's another video of him okay I guess it's actually a like an actual video of Mines is from Mines play point of view and he's shooting somebody like they're playing on Aquarius and he's shooting at the fridge. Well, if you look on the thing, like he's in like the car side where the dino grenades are spawned. There's somebody top mid on pink side, and there's also somebody in their engine side, a pistol room of the map. So essentially, like there's nowhere else for them to spawn but on the fridge side or in the back of their flag. So it's like, is he like could he potentially have the wall hacks? Possibly, but does he have a understanding of the game and how the spawns work? I feel like that's very, very possible as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and just taking like notes from like other games, like I mentioned, like there's so many instances of this exact same thing happening in like Counter-Strike. And it's just like really I'd say before like it should be like more of a cautionary tale. Like definitely like I don't think the wrong move for pros is to automatically assume this and start like throwing out those kind of accusations so quickly, you know? But at least like at the very least like it's bringing forth the conversation of like, hey, we don't have anything to actually stop this, and especially with tournaments going to online play, it's like there's only more opportunity for people to like game the system and cheat. So
Yeah, I think it's more just to raise awareness of it. I think
yeah.
that's more to why he's done it, to be honest. Did they actually end up losing in the end? Did KCP
Drug,
lose?
yeah, they did.
Oh, wow, okay. So, I mean, yeah, there's just a bunch of stuff that goes into it. You can't really base your whole opinion off one clip, which
Yeah.
basically been provided. Like, I don't know. And especially if it's, well, when the LAN goes on, you'll be able to get a better idea of what's been going on. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
yeah, other than that, I think that's all pretty much it, right? Unless anyone have any hot takes you want to do?
So I did want to mention, just like we did bring it up, but I did want to talk about just a little bit about the
Oh, Anaheim.
or actually before that, even the little I think it'd be cool if we talked about a little bit about like other content in Halo.
Mhm.
So I did want to bring up I think the title of it is actually after Formal left, the SSG video.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
know Posey brought that up earlier. Do you guys have any? Did you guys watch it? Do you guys have any thoughts on it? Like, what you think overall? Either just based on like how the content was overall, or like some of the insights that it provided.
Yeah, I think the content was really well. I thought the video was very well, edited and executed. I think I think it was. I definitely think stuff like that is what's needed for, again, to kind of go back to what we were talking about earlier. I think at the beginning it was like, I think stuff like that's needed for the Halo to keep growing as a whole, to kind of give an insight of like kind of what these pro players are going through, or
Yeah.
what they go through, in a sense of like when stuff like this happens. I think they kind of touched base on everything. I think it kind of showed that, like, Ace was like kind of skeptical of the whole situation in the beginning of picking up Formal, but he knew, kind of like you guys we were talking about earlier, like kind of what Formal brings to the table and like his caliber of play. So obviously him over Tusk was, I feel like in most people's opinion, was like a no brainer, in a sense. But at the same
Yeah.
time, like Ace said he knew how Ace was. I mean, he knew how Foreman was, or could be, and like, like kind of like, I think I was talking with Ed about this before the show started. Um, you know, for me, Formal's at a point where he just retired from COD because he doesn't want to put in the effort and time to basically scrim and then, play. Obviously, in COD's not at a good state at the moment, um, so if that's true, as far as him wanting to not necessarily, put forth the effort and scrim and stuff like that, I feel like, I think everybody should have been aware of that and kind of
Yeah.
took that. Not necessarily. I feel like a lot of people took it with a grain of salt, and then, in the same sentence, like, I don't blame Formal for taking the opportunity that he had with Sentinels either. I feel like that's kind of a no brainer as well, in the sense of like, especially if he was wanting to place well at Raleigh.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So my thoughts overall, I thought the video was like really well done, and I agree with like that's the kind of content that's really good. I think it spotlight they did really good about like spotlighting the players and kind of um they didn't even it was like they showed their who the players are by just talking about like Halo, right? But you can kind of see like what motivates them to play and like different things like that. So it was pretty cool, and especially for players like, you've seen like Ace has been around since Halo 3, but nobody really knows like Tylenol. Nobody really knows I mean deciding, but I think he's going by Zion now. Like people aren't too familiar with these players, so it was cool to see like their personalities and kind of give them some shine. Um that was really neat, and I thought all of them handled it super well. And you could tell like by Ace, like the way he's talking to like Tusk in that Discord call, it's like he's been through this situation before. Like it didn't seem like his first time, having to deal with like last minute roster changes. The one thing I'll say that I didn't care for, but I kind of steered away from it, and I kind of give it, I give him some slack because like, dude, like that news was super fresh. But like in the very intro of the video, like Elamite kind of comes out and is like, the way he kind of says it, he kind of states it as if like SSG is just this victim of like circumstance, which in a
Yeah.
way that they are. But I'm like, you guys did this to yourself because you guys are playing with it and I'm not even saying anything about Formal. You're playing with a guy that's not under contract. Like everybody, and he already did this once to you guys. Like he didn't play in that. They never came out and said why he didn't play in that one online tournament, but it's like, okay, like you're not playing with somebody that is reliable, and that's not even anything it's Formal. It's like, but if you're gonna play with fire, like you're gonna get burned, man. Like it's on you guys to understand that, like, hey, like, and I understand that was super last minute, but I didn't like the way that it was kind of shaped like, oh, poor SSG, when I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, you guys kind of did this to yourself. You should have like known what was coming. And then he kind of was a little bit, I felt like it was a little disparaging of like Sentinels to call them those cheaters. I was like, okay, dude, like Formal is guilty of using a geo filter. Are we really gonna throw that like whole label on them? Like, one, the whole team is a bunch of cheaters, and two, even like, or sorry, Royal 2. Are we really gonna call Royal 2 a cheater for using like a geo filter? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, there's a lot worse things.
Yeah, and then I'm like, so somebody that wall hacks, like we were just talking about, that's somebody's cheating, but also somebody that's just trying to get off of like 120 ping, that's also cheating. Like, come on, man. Like that's it's a little bit disingenuous to just do that. But I understand it was like the heat of the moment and everything like that. And it wasn't that bad, but I was like, it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. I was like, if this is how the whole video is gonna go, I don't really know if I want to watch this whole like poor us, like, oh, this
Yeah,
sucks. But it really wasn't like that, and I thought the players like handled it all like pros. So kudos to them, and shout out to I'm not sure who their videographer was, but really good work by him.
Yeah, one thing I will say is, just going off what you said, it was good that they caught their initial reactions. I quite like that. I think
Yeah,
with the whole formal situation, it was good to kind of, you could feel like their anger and like how let down they felt through the video. But I think more teams need to do what they're doing. I think E United announced a few days ago that they've got their own like video coming out from Raleigh,
yeah,
and I know that Optic are obviously big on content anyway. Um, they had all their videographers there, so I'm
uh,
sure that will come out sometime soon.
yeah.
So
I think Sentinels as well. I think
and
yeah,
I think I saw a tweet by them saying like something along the same lines.
and Complexity will be releasing some something similar to that for their unfortunate placing there.
Yeah, so that'll
hmm
be. I mean, that'll still be good. Like it'll be kind of all somebody like E United who plays really well, and then another one that's like showing like a team kind of like showing up and like kind of being disappointed. It's still like great story.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was all I kind of want to touch on um with Halo content. Did you guys want to talk about? I have to say for Anaheim, like we just kind of touch on it real quick and then we kind of wrap it up just because this has been going long, and also we
yeah,
don't really have too much info on it yet. And I think info will be coming, and we can probably cover it a lot
We'll
better
get
once we have more info.
Yeah, I think honestly I'm cool with just not touching on it because we're supposed to get more information on it on Friday.
Yeah.
Um
Okay. Oh, see,
so
I didn't even see that. Yeah. So let's just talk. Let's just not even like. Obviously, it got moved to online, but we'll or the open bracket got moved to online, but yeah, let's wait for next week and then we can cover it if that's cool with both of you guys.
yeah, no, that's
yeah,
cool.
for sure, for sure.
I think that's solid because like you said, I think and like we talked about before, like I think just nonetheless, yeah, I think I'll kind of go over that after we turn everything on.
Yeah. So I guess just wrap it up. You guys got any closing statements?
Um, so interesting fact, intake, hot topic, whatever you call it. I was watching some Pro Eights last night and found out that this is just kind of interesting food for thought, I guess. I found it interesting at least. Night Down had potentially had this roster set up, for him to join Phase for like over a year before the game came out, and then, but also before that, essentially, from my understanding, had Frosty not returned from Call of Duty, Night Down was going to
Ooh.
be a part of the Sentinels teams.
Oh, that is really interesting. I didn't know that. I remember way back, not way back, but I thought he had even had an announcement at some point that he was like teaming with like Renegade.
Yeah, yeah, that's
That was
as soon as you
supposedly the
start talking about it.
phase.
Yeah, that was he was gonna still instead of Penguin, where Penguin stepped in
Yeah.
and played for Shotzi. Snipe Down was gonna play,
Ooh.
but I think in the whole works of it, I think all along he was moving to Phase, and they wanted to move to Cloud9. So
Yeah.
I think that kind of was just a
Yeah, and probably like
miscommunication.
with timing wise, he probably would have had to step away from Apex a lot sooner. And I still don't think his like mind was made up fully, maybe. So it kind of let him be
Yeah,
like on the fence a little bit longer.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Oh,
I
that no,
definitely
that is
agree.
that is interesting though. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so
Anything from you, Ed?
Um, I was just I was just gonna throw maybe a few predictions out there. Not too many, but I was just, for some reason I get this feeling that Cloud9 are gonna not fall off, but I don't think they'll place top two
Ooh,
for the next tournament. I just get a feeling that almost they might run into what Optic had, where they've had this initial success and they're on Cloud9, no pun intended,
yeah,
obviously. I feel like, I don't know, I can see something where maybe FaZe step into that 1-2 spot, and hopefully, well, if you're an Optic fan, that they'll bounce back, and I could see Optic probably trying to prove everyone wrong, and maybe taking second, first, pushing everyone down the ladder a little bit. But yeah, that's just my take personally.
Gotcha. No,
Yeah.
I guess my only thing is I think well, I'm not sure. Do we know Xset's fourth is gonna be?
I
Um,
thought they had announced it, but
They
I
had
could
it. They had it at so I guess Showtime was stepping in for them, or he was going by like Tony's son now, but I think it
Yeah.
was Showtime.
Yeah.
Who was their? Was that their old coach, or was that their? I don't remember who.
I'm not too sure on the full.
But I don't know. I kind of think they need like some major work. That's my prediction, or
Mhm.
they're
Yeah.
gonna keep falling
Sure.
farther and farther.
Yeah, same as G2 in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not really like excited about this G2. I honestly think the problem's more with the core now. I kind of think I'm like, either like Straight Sick or Gilkey need to um probably figure something else out. I just think the both of them, I don't know if they're bringing like enough like firepower.
Yeah. I think me and Ed were talking about this beforehand too as well. Like they're gonna. I think exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. Is like one of them two probably gonna,
Yeah.
if they keep going the way that they're going. I feel like a big roster change is coming.
Yeah, and I kind of thought what do you guys think about the Tusk pickup? I kind of thought that was weird too, because I'm like, I know teams just fit into rosters differently, but it's like, okay, Space Station didn't really think he worked with their team, and you want to be better than Space Station, so you're gonna pick up him. I'm just like, go
Yeah.
go look for these like young developing players.
Yeah, I
And because
definitely agree.
yeah, so. But we'll see. Yeah. Other than that, I don't really have too many predictions, but I'm excited because I have like pretty much the rest of the day off, so I'll get to watch some good Halo.
Yeah, I agree.
For
Like,
sure, for sure.
yeah. So in closing, thank you guys for coming out and bringing this content for the community, and I think it was another great episode.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Let's see me again next week.
Yep. Talk to you guys next week.
The